Hey everyone, good morning, or if it's afternoon where you are, good afternoon. This is going to be charting on the Nadex platform. I am Adam McKinnon, as it says there at the bottom, and I guess we'll just jump right into it. Yeah, we'll just jump straight on into it. We have a few people here today. I will say if you do have any questions, you can always ask them. I do have kind of a question box up over on my second screen here, so I'll do my best to look at those, answer any questions while the webinar is ongoing, or I'll give some time at the end as well if any of you would like to ask questions to that. Looks like we got an okay group here this morning, but I will jump right into it so we can get through the nice fun part here, which is the disclaimer. We do this on the beginning of every webinar, so you should notice this, or it shouldn't be new to you if you have been to a couple webinars before. Out there, basically what this says is that trading on Nadex involves risk. Trading anywhere is going to involve risk. No reward without risk, right? The other thing that this says is just trade with discretionary income. You don't want to be trading with money you need for rent, for food, for anything that you need, right? You should be trading with any of those discretionary funds that you may have. And the last thing on here I will say as I let you read through this nice little disclaimer is that I will be placing some trades on the platform here today. None of these, they're going to be randomly chosen just to show all of you the features of the charts. So don't take that to mean that if I place a trade on an oil binary that you should go out and place a trade on an oil binary, because I will be choosing them at random. Nothing I do today is a recommendation of any financial advice or financial instrument here or elsewhere. All right, I think that was enough time for you guys to read this for me to go through my whole spiel. I'll go on here. Oh, nice beautiful picture of me. Just a little bit about me. I've been working on Nadex for since 2017, so about 4 years now. I need to update the slide, I guess, a little bit. I have been working on the Nadex products and platform for quite a while. So this platform that a lot of you are trading on now, we launched it a couple years ago, and it was me and a small team here that built that out. So and then all the new products that you may have seen coming on recently, and any you may see here in the near future as well. And yeah, just a little bit about my actual trading outside of Nadex. I've been trading mostly equity options, equities and equity options since basically since I could, since I was about 18. So because that ages me a little bit, about 12 years ago. It does not seem like that long. All right, so I'll go on to let's get into the meat and potatoes here of this webinar. So just quick agenda. We're basically just going to go over the chart features. I'll spend a little bit of time going over the very basics of a couple of these, excuse me, a couple of these indicators, technical analysis indicators, exponential moving average, the RSI. But really, this is going to be focusing more on the actual functionality of the charts, how to get things up, because our charts, there is a lot of sort of, I wouldn't say hidden functionality, but a lot of functionality that isn't readily apparent maybe when you first get in there. So that's enough of me talking without being on the platform. So without further ado, let's get onto that platform. And actually, for those of you that do stick around to the end, I will have, I think it's just a blue screen right now. Those of you that do stick around to the end, I will give you a little sneak peek of a new feature that we are going to be rolling out on demo here, and probably the next few days, and then live a few weeks after that. So if you do want to stick around to the end, you will get a little extra sneak peek for waiting through the entirety of the webinar. So just in case you don't know, to get to the actual platform, you want to go to nadex.com. You have nadex.com up here in the top left, and you can go click login. That's going to bring you to this nice login screen. I'm going to be on the demo today, and I'm going to do my I Like Nadex account because I like Nadex. And we're going to wait for this to come on in here. I will say one other thing for anyone that is on webinars that I do sometimes. Occasionally, my internet isn't working well, but I think I fixed those problems. Knock on wood. I think I fixed them today, so hopefully no issues there. All right, let's jump right into the platform here. So I'll go through a couple of the different. I'll use a couple of different charts and a couple of different markets and products to go through the charting on the platform. Starting off, we'll do a Forex binary because that is some of the more popular trading on Nadex. Some of the best volume does come from different Forex binaries. And let's do a daily. Let's choose one with pretty far out with a lot of strikes on it. And really quickly, I'm going to put my chart in dark mode. So this is actually one little tidbit that I'm glad I didn't have this set up correctly so that I could show you how to set it up correctly. When you come into the charting here, if your chart is in light mode but your background is in dark mode, that probably means that in your settings, which is at the bottom left-hand corner here, probably means your settings is set to system when it goes to the theme. So you can hit it light, which I'm a big dark mode user, so I'm gonna go to dark. You can hit light, you can hit dark, but system a lot of the times will leave the charts white and the rest of the chart, or sorry, the rest of the platform in a dark mode. So just that's going to be the way to fix it when and if you have that problem. And so we have the Aussie yen here. I'm actually going to go and just zoom out a little bit on this just so we can see, kind of get a good picture of what's going on in this market. And actually, let's do a more popular market here. I know I'm going all over the place with this, and it probably doesn't really matter, but we'll do a little bit more popular market. I'm actually going to put the chart sort of in a full screen mode so you all can see a little bit more of what's going on here. So in order to do that, if you do want to hide any of these panels and just want to have one big chart on your platform, you can hide everything else but the chart. So you sort of hide the individual panels. So you see right down here in the bottom sort of left-hand corner, you see this little hide button. That's going to hide the product. The product panel to the left is kind of the finder panel, as we call it sometimes. You can hide the ticket by pressing, again, this little hide button with the two arrows, and you can hide it to the bottom by pressing these little two arrows here on the top right of the positions panel window. So there we go. Now we have a nice big chart that we can look at, that we can use to go over a lot of the charting features on all these charts. So the very first thing you may have seen when I was just pulling up this chart and when I was trying to get it in a mode that was easier for you to see, I was changing the time of my candlestick. So first one to go over, it's pretty self-explanatory. However, it's also very useful to know how to change the time of your candlesticks. So you can change it to the top left here, basically. And this is going to be unique in that the only place you can change your candlesticks size is going to be the top left. Everything else you're going to be able to change in two places, and I'll go over that in just 1 second. But for the candlesticks, you're going to want to, for the candlestick duration, you're going to want to go to the top left here, and you're going to have everything from tick to daily. We don't really offer anything longer than daily just because of the duration of the contracts themselves, right? So because you can only trade a week-long contract at Nadex, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense to have a week-long candlestick. So the candlestick would be taking up the entirety of the duration of the contract. So probably not that useful. So you can go all the way from daily, though, all the way down to your tick charts. Just for this, I'm going to go 4 hours because it does have a little bit better sort of eye appeal just for right now for this market. You'll also see here, and now this is the first little, I guess, maybe hidden tidbit or a little tip, little trick. So you see here on the top left, you can sort of see these little grayed out numbers and letters next to 4 hours, 3 hours, right? So next to 4 hours, you see 4H, 3H, 2H. I'm trying not to cover it up with my actual pointer here, all the way down 30 for 30 minutes. So what these are sort of reminders for hotkeys, right? So if I actually click off this and then I start typing in on my keyboard, and actually, very strangely, it doesn't generally work on the number pad. I never know why because I use my number pad a lot, but if you type on the kind of top bar of your keyboard, it's going to bring this up here. And actually, this is also fairly hard to see when I'm typing in because of dark mode, but I'll go over. So I type in 30, and so that's going to bring it says 30 minutes down here. If I hit enter, oops, I didn't hit enter, I clicked off. I hit 30 and I hit enter. That's going to change my candlestick time to 30-minute intervals. You can also do that with, so the default is going to be minutes. So if you just hit 1 with nothing at the back of it, it's going to be 1 minute. However, you type in 1H, that's going to give you 1 hour candlesticks. You could type in 1D, that's going to give you a daily candle. So again, there's a lot of different little hotkeys that you can use, and you don't always have to memorize them. I mean, at this point, I have memorized most of them because I use them so often. But if you are ever forgetting what they are, you can go to the top left, and it is going to be these little grayed out symbols here next to the corresponding time frame for the candlestick. It's just a nice little trick there. Moving on over from the top left, we have this panel here. This is where you can actually go back to a certain amount of time. So if I want to see 1 day, if I want to see 1 week of data portrayed on the chart itself, so not the candlestick size, but how much data I want from the first candle to the last candle displayed on the chart, I can go this, and then we can see now this candle should be from 1 week ago, which we see it was from Thursday, September 2nd. Today is Thursday, September 9th, so that is 1 week back in the candle. So again, these two up here are going to be unique in that you can only access these two tabs from the top left. Everything else you can get either from this top tab, or you can right-click, and it's going to bring up the chart, or sorry, the menu for the chart directly on the chart itself. This is what I primarily use. I generally, just because I find it easier to right-click. I mean, most things online, most things these days, you can right-click, bring up a menu, and you don't have to move your mouse all the way up to the top left. You know, I know it is just a little bit of a movement, but you do that, 100 times a day. It's a couple of minutes, right? You want to use your time to the best of your ability. But you'll see here, like I can get indicators here, and I can also left-click to get indicators. For the rest of this, I'm probably going to just use the right-clicking on the chart, but just know that you can get to the rest of it from the top left of the chart as well, if that's how you choose to consume the charts and go over, go over everything with the charts themselves. So we're going to go on to indicators here at the top. We have quite a few indicators on the platform itself, and we're always looking at adding new ones. But these are the ones we have for right now. So quite a large suite of the more popular indicators. To actually put one on, and before I put one on, I'll actually go over. So many of you may not know what all of these indicators do, and in fact, I only use a certain handful of indicators that I like to use that fit my trading style. So I don't know what all of these are either. So let's say I come in here and I don't know what chalk and volatility is. I can go hover over this little information panel. That's going to give me a little information saying, oh, this indicator calculates the volatility as the trading range between high and the low prices for each period. So I can say, okay, maybe that makes sense, or maybe it doesn't. I can click on it, and now we have our chalk and volatility on the bottom here. I'm also going to put one on. So there's basically two kinds of indicators if you don't use indicators a lot. Well, there's a lot more, but you can sort of divvy them up by ones that sit on the bottom of your screen versus ones that are overlaid on the chart itself. And so something like Bollinger Bands is going to be on the chart itself, while chalk and volatility is going to be on the bottom of the screen. Now, for both of these, you can actually, sorry, just got tongue-tied a little bit. Besides just pulling up your indicators, putting them on the screen, you can actually customize your indicators as well. And the way you're going to do that, and this is another thing that I think is maybe not as intuitive, or people do sometimes contact us with having trouble doing this. You're going to want to look for in the kind of left-hand side of your screen. So if it's one that overlays on the chart itself, it's going to be in the bottom left of the chart. If it's one that is below the chart, it's going to be on the top left of that panel itself. So if I click on this, right, so this is my Bollinger Band, BOLL to 22X. So I can click on this, and this is going to bring up all of my different options for customizing my Bollinger Bands that are on the chart itself. So let's say instead of the default for Bollinger Bands is going to be that 20 period with its standard deviation of 2. But let's say I want to do a 4 standard deviation and a period of, I don't know, 30. You can certainly do that. You can also change the thickness, the colors of the upper and lower lines. So, maybe I want to do orange, and I want to do the moving average as a blue line that is you know, dotted or dashed, and a thick one, right? So, you know, you can set it up as whatever you want. All the nice, pretty colors of the rainbow you have here to make this look, you know, any way you want to make it look. Same thing with the chalk and volatility. All of these indicators are going to have different things that you can actually change on them, that you can customize on them. Obviously, you know, chalk and volatility has the EMA and the past period, while Bollinger Bands are going to have that standard deviation, and as well as the periods that it's looking at. So that's really quickly just overview of all the different ways you can actually change your indicators on the charts. You can also reset it to the defaults if you change it up and you say, okay, well, obviously this isn't working, but now I want to reset it. You reset that to the defaults, and that's going to reset it to the defaults. Also, if you have a bunch of indicators on and you want to take them off, the easiest way to remove an indicator is going to be, or remove an individual indicator without removing them all, is going to be this little X. So if you click on the box itself, you get the customization. If you click on the X next to the box, that's going to take that away, right? So it's again, if you didn't see exactly where I clicked, it's this little X right here that I'm sort of hovering over, and that's what took the indicator itself away. You can also hide all your indicators together, but that's actually contained a little bit further down, so I'm going to go over that in just one second. But for right now, just to take off individual indicators, you want to hit this X there. So that's going to be all we have for the indicators for right now. I will go over a little bit about how you might use a couple of them in a little while. But moving on down now, we have the drawings. So drawings are going to be very similar to the indicator in the actual functionality of getting them on the chart. So first of all, you also have little information bubbles. Now, these might not be super useful for something like an arrow, but let's say an Elliott wave, which is a little bit more complex of a drawing to put onto a chart. You know, I can hover over the information bubble and see a little bit clearer what that Elliott wave does. So I now see that the Elliott wave theory is a 5-3 wave pattern, and now I can place it on if I'd like. I click, I click, I click, click, click. Obviously, this is not how you'd actually put an Elliott wave on. I am just throwing things onto the chart to make it look fairly ugly. You can also, so all of these you can put on here, everything from an arrow to Fibonacci extension to retracements. So this is going to be where you find all of these. You can also snap to your HLOC prices, or as it's called a lot of other places, OHLC prices, your high-low open close or your open high low close, as the two different sort of ways to talk about it. So if I take this off, right? So actually, I'll show you kind of what it is first. If I take it off, you can see it's not really snapping to. Oops. It's not really snapping to. Actually, let me draw something. So you can see when I do this, it's snapping to the tops and the bottoms. I don't know if you can actually see this very well. My drawing tool, when I get close to the high, low, open, close of a candle, and maybe if I zoom in actually here, let me get out of that. I'll zoom in really close on a candle so you can see this a little better. I'll go back to drawing. Let's take my arrow, and so you can see as I kind of get to the top here, it's going to snap right there to that high. So it's just a little thing, but when you're drawing, you can actually snap to the HLOC prices, and if you don't want that on, you can turn that off. So just a very small thing there. The other thing here is you can delete all of your drawings at once. So if you go to the bottom, you can delete all your drawings. I can hit delete all drawings. Now they're all gone, and if I want to undo it, I can hit undo it, they'll come back. So pretty self-explanatory there. The one other thing on this that I want to actually go into real quick, and I'll actually go back and show you a larger view of the chart here. One other thing is you can actually snap your drawing toolbar. So if you draw a lot on your charts, if you're drawing channels and fans and everything, all of the great things you can draw on a chart to do a little technical analysis, I'll do a little plug. I know our buddies over at Daily Effects are always drawing a lot of things on charts in their articles. You could snap the drawing toolbar or show the drawing toolbar. Now, if you hit this button, it's going to show you all of your tools down here in the bottom. So if I'm sitting here and I need to draw, a bunch of different channels on, oh, that's an arrow. but let's say I want to draw a bunch of different channels on here, or I'm drawing a lot of my channels here. Let's say I need to draw a lot of them. I can snap this on here, and it's going to be a lot easier to just go and draw your various drawings on the chart itself. So for the time being, I'm going to take off a lot of these because this is starting to look pretty busy, and I don't want to hurt any of your eyes having to look at that background. But actually, I'll keep one on just because it's going to come up in a little bit. So moving on down now, after the drawings, we have the types here. This is just going to be where you choose the type of candles that are on your chart. So or really the type of chart that you have. So right now we just have our candlestick chart. That's going to be your fairly standard candle chart that everyone knows and loves, that you're going to be the default for almost everywhere. Moving down, you have your Heikin-Ashi candles. Very basically what these do, and you can kind of see it when I just clicked on it, is that it takes more of an average of the periods rather than just giving you the pure high, low, open, close, and sort of gives you a smoother rise and fall of your candlesticks. If you do want to learn more about Heikin-Ashi, I'm not going to go super in depth into it in this webinar itself, but if you would like to learn more, you can always go on our site, or Google is always your friend as well. Investopedia, it's always a fairly good resource for a lot of different things. Moving on down, you have your line charts. Pretty self-explanatory. It's a line. You have your HLOC, where it's just showing the high, low, open, and close of the chart itself in a little bit different manner. So some people do prefer this to your traditional candlestick charts. Has the same information. It's just a little bit different way of actually displaying that information on the chart. And we go down to our last type here. That's going to be your mountain chart. Very basically, it's the line chart with a shaded underneath area. So I am going to go back to our candlestick chart for the remaining part of this, just because it is the default and that's what most people use. Moving on here, we have our price, and I will say here that this is something that I change probably the least out of everything, or I recommend changing the least. If you know why to change this, you can go ahead and do it. But so basically, very, very basically, what this is saying is asking you to show what of the price. Are you showing the ask, or are you showing the bid, or are you showing the mid of the underlying market, right, of the chart itself? So if I change this to ask, you'll see everything just shifted up a little bit. And actually, let me pull up my chart itself, or sorry, my ticket itself. You can see here that when I actually change it to when I change this to ask, this that's displaying on the chart now, right? This is displaying on the chart that it's no longer matching up with the indicative price. Why is that? It's because the chart is displaying the underlying ask price, while the indicative index is still displaying basically that midpoint price, or sorry, the last traded price that's going through our settlement calculation, right? So I can do that for bid. I can see the best bid on the underlying market. Again, if you don't know why you would want to do this, I would really just recommend keeping it at last traded, because the last traded is going to be what actually syncs up with the underlying indicative, and it's going to be the most accurate representation of the underlying market on which you are trading. So again, if you know why to use the bid and ask, I would use it. I will show you something very quickly that actually does make this bid and ask somewhat more useful, and that's going to be the quick chart. So let's really quickly take a detour from all of our great menu items here, and we're going to go to the top right-hand corner of our chart here. So we go to the top right-hand corner of our chart. We hit this little, I guess it's called like a burger menu, because it looks like a little burger. You got your buns and your meat in the middle. And you have two drop-down options here. You have to switch to quick chart, and you have your tear-up chart. We're going to go to our quick chart very quickly. And so what you see here is actually the chart, charting showing the underlying market. So let me pull my, let me pull up my ticket again to show you all what is going on here. So this is showing the actual pricing of the underlying market itself. And so if you have this to last traded, or if you have it to mid, it actually doesn't have a last traded, it just has ask, bid, and mid. it's actually showing you the history of what the binary option has done, right? So not the history of the underlying market, which is what it always defaults to, so the history of the underlying euro dollar. This is actually the history, and you can see it moving up and down here, of the binary option price. So right now we see the midpoint, so it's kind of fluctuating, but you see the midpoint between 62.5 and 66.25 is going to be about 63.25, and that's what it's showing here on the quick chart. The interesting part about this and why I bring it up when I'm going around doing this price is that you can actually chart the ask and it's going to match up with your ask. You can chart the bid and it's going to match up with your bid price, right? So good way to actually see what the ask, what the bid, the historical of this is. Now, this isn't going to go back as far as our other charts because obviously it's just for the history of this specific contract itself. So just the euro dollar greater than 18120 expiring at 11 a.m. But again, I think this is very useful. It's something that we added fairly recently, but seeing the history of the actual, the charting of the actual product itself, as opposed to the underlying or in conjunction with the underlying, I always think it's a very useful feature. So for right now and for the rest of this, I'm going to go back to the default chart, but that is just a little tidbit on something you might want to use there if you'd like using that. And just for the default chart, I usually just stick to last traded. One other thing while we're up here in this little hamburger menu, we have our tear off charts as well. Now, so you can also tear off the charts, and this is where you're going to be able to customize your screen a little bit more. So give me 1 second. I'm going to open up a couple different charts here. I just moved that off to my other screen, which is why you can't see it. I do generally trade and do most things with a few screen setup. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Sorry, I'm just tearing off the charts. I know I'm moving very quickly here, but I just want to show you a couple of things here. So let's say that I really like trading Forex, but I trade a few markets, right? I trade pound dollar, I trade euro dollar, I trade Aussie dollar, all those great those dollar pairs, and I trade the dollar Swiss. So if I weren't to have these tear-up charts, I would just have to basically click back and forth between all of them. But, and as you're going to see right here, as I sort of set up my screen here, I can actually make put a lot of charts on the same screen. So I tore all these off, I put them on my other screen, but generally what I will do when I'm trading on the demo account is I will actually on my second screen set it up like this so I can actually see a bunch of different markets. And I'm going through this quickly so it doesn't look as good as it usually does. But you can actually get a number of different markets on your screen as well. And again, this actually looks a lot worse. If you can play with it to get it to a lot of them to show at the same time. And then you can also trade on these. So you can click on this, bring up your ticket, and do all that great stuff from a lot of different charts on your screen itself. So this is a little tidbit trick to customizing and fully laying out multiple charts quickly on your platform itself. So I'm going to get rid of all of these for right now, but again, if you do have two screens, that's generally how I set up my trading when I'm doing my demo trading. Let's go back to actually, you know what? Let's jump onto a call spread. I said we use a couple of these, and let's go to a commodity. Let's see what crude is doing today. So you will notice that when I get onto my oops, I need to zoom in, not zoom out. You will notice that when I get onto my crude oil chart, it does look a little bit different, and I think it's looking a lot different because my Bollinger Bands are kind of doing it up here. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Okay, let me go to indices so I can show you this a little bit better. I think these call spread strikes are a little bit close, so. But you can see here when I go to these indices, I'm going to take the Bollinger Bands off so I can actually see a little bit better. Sorry about this. Okay, so you can see on these indices, on the one I have selected, I can actually see the top and the bottom of the call spread. So that ceiling and that floor of the call spread overlaid on the chart itself. So that's going to be this blue area here because I'm selected on the buy side. If I go back and I'm selected on the red side, it'll be overlaid with that red area there. And I think I was a little bit messed up when I was explaining that earlier because I had the Bollinger Bands on and they were set to the same color as the background. But you do have this visual representation on both the call spreads, and I will show the knockouts here in a second. that very clearly show the ceiling, the floor, and the market's relation at current time to that ceiling and to that floor price. So just another little tidbit that makes trading these markets a little bit easier. You can see it going up, going down out of the call spread range throughout the life of the contract. So moving back on, we're going to go down. Let's throw our Bollinger bandwidth on. Actually, let's get that off. Well, I don't know why I did that. So moving back on here, we're going to go to our scale. So scale is an interesting one. I generally, so the default is actually going to be linear on the scale. And so what the scale does, if you see over here on my right-hand side, right now it's showing the actual price of the underlying market, right? So these, 45.50, 45.40, 45.30 for the price of the underlying US 500, or as many of you may know, the S&P 500 future. If I actually go in here and go to percentage, though, it's going to change those hard linear numbers to a percentage readout. And what this actually does, and why I actually kind of prefer using this, is it actually changes this to give you a percentage change from the first visible candle. So you can see here, if we line up the first visible candle, it's going to be lined up right with 0% right here, right? And now I can actually use that and say, okay, well, so if I actually hover over this, we can see it's actually moved up about 1% from the first candle that's shown on the chart itself. So it's a little bit of a visual representation that can easily show the percentage change of the underlying market over the given time frame that is visible on the chart itself. And so that's just going to be your little scale here. You can choose linear, you can choose percentage. I personally like percentage, but it is more of a preference thing. Going on down here, I want to make sure I get through all of this so I can show all of you at the end that stick around the new feature we have coming up, a little hidden feature. So we go and we have all of our show. So right now you can see all of these are checked because I'm showing everything on the chart itself right now. So we'll go through these. We'll go through each of these. Some of these are fairly self-explanatory. Some of these a little bit harder. HLOC data. So as I move around, you see this box that's sitting there next to my cursor that says last traded, highest, lowest, open, close, change. If I go to show, I can actually turn that off. So if you don't like that box following you around, now see that box is gone, no longer following my cursor. If I go back, I can then again turn on the HLOC data. It's going to follow me around. So again, a preference thing. Drawings. So let me actually put some drawings back on here and put some indicators back on here to show you. Let's do one that's directly over. We can do an EMA. So I have my EMA, I have my drawing, and I can actually show or hide these. So if you are drawing something on there, if you are trying to put indicators on and they're not showing up on your platform, this is probably going to be the first place to look and to go troubleshoot. Sometimes, we do have people call in and say, hey, I think everything's broken, I can't see my indicators. Generally, if you can't see your indicators, it's going to be because they're deselected in the show panel. So, I'll show you here. Indicators, now they're off, now they're back on, now my drawing's back on. So you can hide the indicators and drawings fairly easily there. The next four, you'll see, so the open positions, working orders, strikes, timelines. And let me go back, let me get into a binary here so I can show you a little bit easier what all of this does. Let's do a daily here. Oh no, we're about, let's do a 2 hour. Let's do 2 hours. We'll get the best pricing sort of available here for 2 hour. Oh, this is because it's on the FTSE. There we go. There we go. Now we have a contract with good pricing because we're right in the middle of it. Okay, so let's go down to a 15-minute chart. 10-minute. I'm just trying to get all the strikes in here. So we have a ton of strikes, and also we have I have my order on there. I have that's a working order, and I will put on a market order on the platform as well. So now that I have all three of these things up, if I actually, let me hide these again so you can see a little bit better. So right now this is fairly messy. I have all my strikes coming across. There's a ton of strikes on my screen. I can, maneuver them by going like this, and I will show you more of that in just 1 second. and I also have my working orders and my my working orders showing on the platform itself. So my +1 above 4514.5. That's this contract, and my open positions, which is right here. That's going to be this contract itself. So if I go and hide this again, so what you can see in this show panel is I can actually hide my open positions, right? So that little red on the side, my working order is going to be the gray box on the side, so I can hide and show that. The strikes, I can hide all my strikes, so now that looks a lot better, right? I can hide all my strikes using this little hide show strike symbol there. And it's still going to show the strike that's actually selected, and you can still click on more strikes to actually bring them up, even though you can't see the strike itself. So I'm going to go back and hide that. You can, and then your timeline. So this little timeline at the bottom you can hide as well. Now, what is cool about these four here, what's unique about them, the open positions, working orders, strikes, and timelines, you may see next to them they have those little grayed out symbols. So these are going to be more hotkeys. So you can see, I'm not sure how well that comes through in this dark mode, but you can see it says P, O, S, and T. So if I hit P, it's going to hide and show my working orders. If I hit O, it's going to, P is positions, O is working orders. S is going to hide and show my strikes. There we go. And then T is going to hide and show the timeline. So again, I use these quite often just because I have my hands on my keyboard. It's a little bit easier for me to just hit that rather than, you know, a whole thing of clicking in, going and have to click on it, right? But you still can obviously do it that way. And if you do ever forget what the hotkeys are, they are overlaid on the right-hand panel of this drop-down menu. I'm actually going to get out of this binder because this is super, looks very messy right now. I could make it look better, but I'm just going to go back to our call spread. Actually, let me do the rest of these on a knockout contract. You'll see the knockout when I go in here, that it's a little bit different. And actually, let's show Reese with the data here. You can see the knockout. It still has the buy, sort of the buy and sell, or sorry, the price and floor of the knockout contract itself, and you can click them here on the left-hand side. So it does look unique from the call spreads, even though both have the price and the floor and the ceiling. Oh, I did have a comment here. I'll go over in just 1 second. We have the floor and we have the ceiling here. Overlaid, it does look a little bit different, just to differentiate it from the call spreads itself. So you can see it there. I have a question over here. Someone asked, is there a way to see the volume on the charts? As of right now, there's no way to see the volume itself on the charts. Primarily, that is because these charts in the underlying market, they are just the underlying market, right? So I guess if you wanted to see the volume, most people, well, there absolutely are reasons to see the volume. The short answer of this is no, you can't actually see the volume of the underlying market being traded on the chart itself. There is a reason for this, but it would sort of be a very long-winded answer and probably take a little bit too much time. But if you do want a more in-depth answer to that, the person who asked that question, feel free to email into our customer service box, and I'll see if I can pick that up and give you a little bit more in-depth answer on all of that. Just going back down to our show here, you can. I'm going to go through this somewhat quickly because a lot of this is self-explanatory, but the price changes. See down here in this bottom left, these are the price changes. So you can kind of get the change of the overall market since the first candle and the high-low for today, the high-low for the entire period that's showing in this period that's in front of you, that's on the chart. You also have the price line. So the price line, see this little line that goes across, it shows you the current price and shows you the price on the right-hand side. You can hide and show that as well. So it's actually just that line there that you can hide and show. There we go. That's going to be the whole show section. Now, really quickly, we're going to go through layouts. Layouts are fairly useful if you have a certain setup that you like to trade off a lot. Let's say you have a certain suite of indicators, a certain package of indicators that you like to use on a lot of different charting setups. You can save your charting setup. So let's say I always use my EMA, and I always use my during while I'm using Heikin-Hashi, and I have my Bollinger Bands on there, or Bollinger Bandwidth, let's say. I can actually save this setup. I'll save it as Adams cool setup. There we go. So now I have this saved as Adams cool setup. I can go and I can actually take these off. Take these off, not that. Take these off. And now if I go to layouts and I apply, is it Adams cool layout? Yeah, Adams cool setup. Yeah, we'll just apply one. There we go. That's what it was. Adams cool setup. We see it brings back up the EMA. It brings back up the Bollinger Bandwidth. So if you do have your setup that you always like to use, you can save them and very easily apply them to the chart itself. And if you do ever want to get rid of one, you can always go and delete it. And let's say I no longer want Adams cool setup, I can delete it and then it's going to be gone. So definitely useful there if you always have the same kind of setup that you use to trade. Going on down here, we have our customized appearance. This is just going to customize the chart itself and the candlesticks. So let's say that and you actually change which candlesticks you have on here, or sorry, which chart type. So let's say instead of red-green candles, I like orange and blue for rising, falling. Damn, that looks pretty ugly. But again, you can use whatever you like here. Obviously, you can change everything up. You can also show the grid that's in the background, so I can change it. So see this grid? It's unless you change the color, it's a lot more subtle. You can show or hide that grid. You can also show or hide the watermark, which I'll show you here. That's going to be that US 100 that's in the background, so you can actually see what contract you're trading. It's overlaid in the background. And right now my chart looks extremely messy, or at least it does in my opinion. So if I just go back to my customized appearance, I can revert it to the defaults. It's going to bring me back right there to that default. And again, you can do this for any chart you want. All of them sort of you can customize independently of each other. Moving back on to the last thing on our little charting setup, or the little settings panel that we actually have. We have our export chart. So what this does is it's just going to export a screenshot of your chart. Now, generally, this is going to come up as a little download. My downloads have been messing up on my computer generally on my Google Chrome. Let's actually see if I can't. I just hope that okay. We'll click to have that come up. That should come up here. Yeah, so it's just going to export a screenshot of the chart itself. Generally, that is going to pop up on the bottom left, just like anything else you download online. But again, my Chrome has been messing up and not displaying my downloads. So you have a certain charting setup that you like to see, that you want to take a screenshot of, or really anything. If you want to take a screenshot of this chart, you can export the chart. Maybe a little bit easier than manually taking a screenshot. Maybe not, in your opinion, but the functionality is there. Especially if let's say you're seeing something on the chart, you're trying to explain it to one of our great customer service agents. They can't really figure out what the issue is. You can take a screenshot of the chart itself, and that's generally very helpful to get to the bottom of whatever issue you may be having. So moving on from that, that's going to be everything we actually have on this little this panel. There actually are a couple more things you can do on the top left. So I think I lied a little bit earlier when I said that it was just those two things you could do on the top left, choosing the intervals and the time. So there's a couple more. So you can scroll in, scroll out with your mouse wheel, right? There you go. And you can also do that from up top here. So if you want to zoom in and zoom out, you have your zoom in, zoom out, pretty self-explanatory. This last one though, I think is one of the cooler little features that people miss, overlook, etc. So this little latest price button. So if I drag my chart away, let's say I go back a while and I just want to go back to the latest price, yeah, it can do that, right? So obviously it'll take you back to the latest price. So if you ever lose where your chart is, but what I also think is very cool. So as I scroll in and out, you'll see that the chart sort of widens to fit everything on the chart as I scroll in and out, right? However, if I take my chart and I right click and I pull it up and down, which you can do on the chart, now if I scroll in and out, now that feature doesn't work anymore, right? Because if it no longer scrolls. To get that auto scroll feature back to work again, you're just going to want to hit this last chart and latest price, and now the kind of the auto scroll, the auto sizing works once again. So again, I have the auto sizing on, I have the auto sizing on. If I pull off of just the kind of default and I pull my chart around, which again, I'm just left clicking and dragging, I can drag my chart around. Let's actually get back. So now if I scroll in and out, it's no longer going with the chart. If I hit this last traded, now it goes with the chart itself. So just another one of those tidbits, kind of one of those hidden things that I think is extremely useful. So there we go on that front there. One other thing that you may have seen me doing during the course of this webinar is that you can actually pull this up and down. So see so if I'm right here, if I'm in the middle of the chart and it's just the actual arrow key, I can do this, right? I can grab it on the chart, I can move it around. But if I am over on the right-hand part of the chart and I see my arrow go from the regular one to the up-down arrow, I can now pull this and I can widen the chart itself, right? And so this is pretty useful, especially when you're trading binaries. Let me pull up a binary here. Especially when you're trading a binary that might have a ton of strikes. So something like one of our 2-hour US indices that has a lot of strikes, give you a lot of options throughout the 2-hour life cycle of the chart. I can go down and say, okay, let me look at 3 minutes, and yeah, now it's showing me everything. Or I can just scroll up and down, and it's going to be able to show me more. So if I ever see this where a lot of my strikes aren't showing, I can go to the right-hand side of the screen and just pull up, and it's going to be able to kind of widen the area of the chart itself. So just another little tidbit that I think can be hidden sometimes, but is quite useful. One other bit, so that's actually going to really be the end of all of our chart functionality here. I'm trying to make sure I'm remembering everything, but I'm almost positive that's everything, even though in the back of my head I'm thinking it's not. But I think that actually is all the functionality that we really have to show on the charts itself. Now, I did promise that I would show you a new feature or a coming soon feature if you did stick around at the end. So I will go over to another tab here. And if you have any questions, you can certainly start throwing them in the chat. So this is kind of just a little, it's not live yet. Oops. It is not live yet, but it will most likely be live in the next couple of weeks. We're going through our final rounds of testing, and I think this is quite a cool feature. So I did want to show it off here. So we can now see on the bottom on the old chart, we just had this kind of bottom panel here, right? On this version, I now have a couple more things on here. I have my set profit target and I have my close. On the old one, we just had close. This is the new functionality right here, the set profit target. So you've always been able to just kind of manually set a profit target, right? If you click on the thing itself, on the position itself, you can manually say, okay, I have this at, I want to sell if it gets to 60, right? And you can manually put in a profit target that way, and that's fine. That still works. But to make it a little bit easier, and I'm going to actually get out of this so I don't mess up the profit target. To make it a little bit easier, we are implementing this set profit target button. So what this is going to do is when I click this, it's the same functionality you've really been able to do, but we set it out so you can do it in a much easier way and a much more transparent way to actually what's going on in the market, right? So if I change my closing price, because right now I paid $46.25, so that's going to be the least amount I can actually have there for my profit target. If I start moving that up and say, okay, I want to get out when it's at 50. Okay, now this is telling me I'm actually setting a profit target of $3.75. So if this actually does go up and it does hit 50, I'll get $3.75 if I place this limit order, right? So as you move up, you can see it's going to your different profit targets. So let's say I want to set it at 55. I can now hit place my limit order. That'll place my limit order. I can go over here. I can say, okay, so now this working order is just set to a price of 55, but I know that price of 55 is going to be a profit of 875 if it does go up there and if it does hit. So again, it's not necessarily functionality that you couldn't do in the past. I think it's just really showing it in a manner that's gives a lot more information in a kind of easier package. So we've actually been working on this for quite a while, quite a lot of iterations of this, and I think it's going to make it easier for really everyone. I mean, even the more experienced traders here at Nadex have been loving using this, but a lot of the newer people that we have coming in, especially like using this, just because I think it's a lot easier to grasp the idea of a set profit order when you actually have it set up like this. So anyway, that's a little sneak peek. It is not live on the platform yet. It will likely be live. Don't hold me to this because we're still going through our final testing, but potentially it will be on demo next week, and then it would potentially be in the live environment a few weeks after that. So again, don't hold me to that, but that is the little sneak peek for those of you that stuck around to the end, or if you are watching this, the recording of this, those of you that just skipped to the end almost immediately. So that's going to be everything for the webinar itself today. I will give a few minutes to ask any further questions. I'm actually going to bring this back up so that, oops. I'm going to bring this back up because I know everyone likes when especially our marketing team likes when I show this at the end, and our great teams there. So if you do have any questions, please ask those questions now. But if you do ever need any help, you can always go ahead and contact us at customerservice@nadex.com. That's going to be one of the faster ways. The other really fast way to get in touch with us is going to be through live chat. And you can actually get to that live chat, not pull the live chat up in the platform, but there's a little bubble that says contact us. If you hit that, it'll take you over to a page where the live chat is available. So live chat's probably going to be the fastest way to get a response. If you do have a little bit more in-depth questions, or you just prefer using email, you can use customerservice@nadex.com. And I know our customer service team is very knowledgeable, and they respond very quickly to those inquiries. If you are enjoying your trading here, you can definitely go to Trustpilot, leave us a review. It definitely helps us out if you do that. And then here are all of our social media channels. We have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. This webinar, as well as all webinars that are done on the exchange, are put up on YouTube fairly quickly. I will say, generally within the day. Actually, usually pretty fast, but don't want to get your hopes up too high. So definitely subscribe to our YouTube, where you can see all the recordings of our webinars, plus you know, our morning analysis YouTube sessions with Todd, and you can also see a lot of other content that we put out there. And then we also have a LinkedIn as well. So definitely follow us on those channels. And I don't really see any more questions coming in. I'll give it one more second here to see if any other questions are coming in here today. Doesn't look like any more are. So with that, I will go ahead and sign off here. I hope this has been informative for everyone to learn a little bit more about the charting. I will be back next week on next Thursday. I generally do about 2 webinars a month. One's going to be our charting. The other one is going to be on all the other aspects of the platform itself. So if you are interested in everything else that we didn't cover on the platform, tune in next week, same time, same place, Thursday at 11 a.m. Central or noon Eastern. That's going to be it for me today. I wish you all the best in your trading, and happy start to the NFL season. I'm personally very excited to get football underway again. That's just a little tangent. Thanks for joining today, and good luck with all your trading, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.